Blake Lively's involvement in It Ends With Us was initially framed as the big power move, but as more details surface, it's starting to look like Colleen Hoover may have been pulling strings of her own. At first, fans speculated Blake was positioning herself to grab more control, maybe even direct the project. But in reality, the real twist may be that Colleen never wanted to give up her rights to a sequel in the first place. Behind the scenes, Hoover allegedly spent months quietly plotting to edge Justin Baldoni out, reclaim the power she felt she lost, and reinsert herself into the center of her book's Hollywood future. Her actions, described by some insiders as borderline obsessive, show just how far she was willing to go. Reports suggest Colleen's determination wasn't about collaboration anymore. It was about control. Allegedly, she was ready to sacrifice Baldoni's reputation if it meant securing her position. With Blake Lively by her side, she backed accusations against him that came without receipts. And the result was devastating. Justin, who had once been her most enthusiastic supporter, was suddenly isolated and stripped of power. Fans now see this as one of Hollywood's coldest betrayals. Two women teaming up to sideline the very man who brought the project to life in the first place. What makes this worse is the timing of Hoover's abrupt retirement. While many saw it as an artist bowing out gracefully, others believe it was a calculated escape, a way to avoid facing mounting backlash. She was already under fire for refusing to answer questions about her son's alleged scandal. And now, with the Baldoni drama exploding, her disappearing act looks more like damage control than closure. To really understand how this all unraveled, you have to rewind to 2019, when It Ends With Us wasn't yet a global TikTok sensation. Justin Baldoni read the book early and saw its potential before the hype. He didn't just option it. He poured his heart into it, personally emailing Colleen and describing the story as romantic, beautiful, and heartbreakingly tragic. He wasn't chasing clout. He wanted to bring her vision to life. Colleen, thrilled at his enthusiasm, responded immediately, and in those early exchanges, she seemed fully invested in him as the right creative partner. She even suggested he take on the lead male role, Ryle, which shows how much trust she initially placed in him. But as momentum grew and Hollywood influence crept in, things shifted. During casting, Colleen pushed for Blake Lively, praising her work and championing her name. Justin followed her suggestion, but fans later learned Blake hadn't even read the book before signing on and barely knew who Colleen was. Despite this, Colleen threw her support behind Blake and distanced herself from Justin when tensions arose. Allegations then circulated about one particular incident. Justin and his family were reportedly sidelined while Colleen remained upstairs with the cast, creating the impression she had chosen sides. To many, this was the first clear sign of betrayal. Justin was left out, while Blake and Colleen grew closer. And this wasn't Colleen's first controversy. Before the adaptation drama, she had faced harsh criticism for releasing a coloring book version of It Ends With Us. The novel is based on her own parents' marriage and touches on themes of domestic abuse and trauma. Turning that into a fun activity book struck fans as tone-deaf and exploitative. The backlash was swift, forcing her to pull it from shelves. At the time, she apologized, but many still questioned how someone who built her career on stories of survivors could trivialize such serious subject matter. Speculation grew that Colleen's frustrations with Justin were rooted in money. She had sold the rights to the book before it exploded on TikTok, meaning she missed out on potential millions. Meanwhile, Justin, who had secured those rights early, now stood to profit massively. Some believe that resentment festered, fueling her decision to flip sides and align with Blake, who brought Hollywood star power that Colleen may have believed would maximize profits. And while she has apologized for the coloring book debacle, her handling of other controversies has been far worse. Her son was accused of sending inappropriate messages to a 16-year-old girl on Snapchat. The victim claimed she reached out to Colleen directly, but instead of offering support, Colleen allegedly blocked her. When pressed, she denied the seriousness of the situation, insisted the story was twisted, and defended her son. For someone who built an empire writing about trauma survivors, her response shocked fans. Many believe this scandal, more than anything else, is what drove her to delete her Instagram and step away from the spotlight. Despite this, she continued to praise Blake Lively publicly, even after Blake accused Justin of mistreatment on set, claims that many see as unfounded. Colleen described Blake as honest, kind, and patient, thanking her for being such a good human. Fans found this baffling given reports that Blake dominated the production, forced creative changes to match her aesthetic vision, and clashed with editors, allegedly creating chaos on set. Critics point out that if Blake's claims about Justin were true, other cast or crew members would have spoken up, but none have. Instead, old reports about Blake's diva behavior resurfaced, reinforcing the idea that she was the true source of the drama. Still, Colleen doubled down, aligning herself with Blake over Justin. To many, it looked like a strategic choice. Stand by the bigger name, curry favor in Hollywood, and maybe even set the stage for a sequel under her control. But fans weren't buying it. In today's internet age, blind loyalty to fame and wealth gets called out fast, and Colleen's reputation began to crumble. The most suspicious moment came when Blake, in a CNN interview, mentioned she would only do a sequel if Colleen had the rights. Fans were stunned because Justin and his studio already owned them. That comment sparked speculation that Colleen and Blake had been plotting for months, possibly even before the accusations against Justin surfaced. Soon after, Colleen launched her production company, Heartbones Entertainment, and hired a powerhouse legal team known for handling Hollywood's biggest names. The timing was too perfect to ignore. All of this paints a troubling picture: an author frustrated by lost profits, an actress hungry for creative dominance, and a director caught in the middle, blindsided by the very people he thought were his allies. Colleen Hoover's choices, from defending Blake without evidence to vanishing when the heat rose, reflect a pattern of prioritizing power and self-preservation over accountability. The question now is whether her so-called retirement is real or just a smokescreen. Is she bowing out gracefully, or is she running from humiliation before more dirt surfaces? Fans remain divided. Some see her as a pawn manipulated by Blake Lively, while others believe she orchestrated the entire scheme herself. Either way, what started as a dream collaboration has spiraled into one of Hollywood's ugliest betrayals, and Colleen Hoover's name is now synonymous with scandal, not success. Blake Lively's shocking statement: "If Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere," wasn't just casual praise. It was a loaded declaration that lit the fuse on one of the most controversial battles in Hollywood. Colleen Hoover sat calmly beside her, unusually composed, while fans and insiders immediately sensed something deeper. To many, this moment wasn't coincidence at all. It was strategy. By then, whispers had already circulated that multiple tactics had been deployed to pressure Justin Baldoni into surrendering the film rights he legally held. Yet Justin refused, standing firm even as the situation grew increasingly suspicious. Then came the reveal. Colleen Hoover had quietly launched her own production company, Heartbones Entertainment. The timing couldn't have been sharper. A Variety article confirmed her new venture just as she switched to a high-profile law firm known for defending Hollywood titans like Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt. The move looked like preparation for a power play: reclaim the rights, funnel them through Heartbones, and leave Justin in the dust. But the chessboard grew darker. Industry insiders now believe Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, with their wealth and influence, may have bolstered Hoover's campaign. Discussions about clawing back rights reportedly began months earlier, long before the public had any inkling, suggesting behind-the-scenes coordination. And then came the most explosive maneuver: Blake's lawsuit. Her claims didn't just center on set discomfort. They targeted a morality clause in the contract. These clauses are Hollywood's nuclear button. If the rights holder is accused of serious misconduct, the rights revert to the original owner. In this case, if Blake could successfully trigger the clause with accusations of sexual harassment, Justin would lose everything, and Colleen could instantly reclaim her rights. From there, they could be transferred to Blake. Suddenly, her earlier comment about only doing the sequel if Colleen had the rights made chilling sense. Once Blake's allegations surfaced, the dominoes fell fast. Justin's agency reportedly dropped him. Industry support evaporated. And just like that, Colleen and Blake were positioned to seize control. Many observers called it what it looked like: a meticulously calculated business maneuver wrapped in the moral language of Talk Me Too. Evidence of planning began leaking. A Reddit thread claimed crew members had been warned months in advance of Blake's complaints. Meanwhile, Justin, frustrated with the editor's original cut, had hired his own team to refine the film. Blake, not satisfied with her level of control, allegedly demanded Sony let her oversee editing too. When the studio refused, she allegedly threatened to go to the New York Times with harassment claims unless they relented. Sony panicked. Reports say they banned Justin from the studio and handed Blake unprecedented authority over the project. Chaos followed. Blake brought in editors from Taylor Swift's music videos, working remotely from Italy, only to realize the film needed seasoned professionals to salvage. Meanwhile, Taylor herself reportedly clashed with Sony over the composer, issuing an ultimatum that forced yet another shakeup. What was once Justin's passion project now spiraled into Blake's chaotic playground. Throughout, Hoover's role became more suspect. She defended Blake publicly, calling her honest and kind, yet went silent when Justin's attorney began preparing subpoenas and digital evidence, including private DMs. Then, on January 22nd, Hoover abruptly deleted her Instagram, a move fans interpreted as digital scrubbing before scrutiny hit. Was she covering her tracks, or retreating from a storm she helped unleash? By this point, observers began connecting the dots. Hoover's sudden production company launch, her new legal team, her alignment with Blake, and her silence when evidence threatened to unravel their case. It looked less like a friendship and more like a partnership of convenience, one rooted in money, power, and control. But the fallout was brutal. Hoover, who had built her empire on stories of trauma and survival, faced growing backlash for aligning with Blake's narrative without evidence. Critics accused her of prioritizing fame and financial leverage over truth. Fans called out the hypocrisy of an author who claimed to champion accountability, yet seemed to avoid it when her own reputation was at stake. Some speculate Hoover was manipulated by Blake, convinced she was taking the moral high ground. Others believe Hoover knowingly played the game, motivated by regret over selling rights too early and missing out on profits. Either way, the damage is done. Now, rumors swirl about Hoover's so-called retirement. Is it genuine, or a strategic retreat before more evidence surfaces? Was she a mastermind, or a pawn in Blake's Hollywood Game of Thrones-style betrayal? Reports even suggest Blake whispered to other cast members, including Brandon Sklenar, planting seeds of distrust against Justin while dangling career incentives. If true, it was a meticulously orchestrated campaign to isolate him and consolidate control. In the end, Justin Baldoni entered It Ends With Us with passion, vision, and sincerity. But Hollywood isn't about sincerity. It's about leverage. And Blake and Colleen allegedly played their hand ruthlessly, flipping allegiances, activating morality clauses, scrubbing evidence, and shifting narratives until the project was theirs. The unanswered question remains: did Hoover act on her own frustrations, or was she simply another piece in Blake's larger strategy? For now, one thing is certain. This saga isn't just about a movie adaptation. It's about how easily morality can be weaponized when money, power, and fame are on the line. And with every new disclosure, the narrative grows messier, the motives more questionable, and the reputations more fragile. What started as a love story on paper has turned into a cautionary tale for Hollywood itself, one about betrayal, ambition, and the dangerous games played when art collides with empire.